All right, let's talk about something that can make or break pretty much any project you'll ever work on. We're going to be demystifying one of the most critical concepts out there, project scope. If you've ever been on a project that just completely went off the rails, well, stick around. You're about to find out why. I'm sure we've all seen a cartoon like this before, and man, it hits a little too close to home, right? It always starts with a simple, clear idea. In this case, a tire swing. But somewhere along the line, things get complicated. Through a whole series of miscommunications, you end up with something totally unrecognizable, way over budget, and definitely not what anyone actually wanted. So how on earth does this keep happening? Well, the answer, the absolute root cause of all that chaos, boils down to a single, powerful word, scope. If you get this right, you are setting yourself up for success. But if you get it wrong, well, you end up with a roller coaster when all you needed was a swing. Okay, so let's really dig into this challenge. Understanding project scope isn't just some boring textbook definition. It is literally the foundation that your entire project is built on. Get this wrong, and the whole thing could come crumbling down. So what exactly is project scope anyway? The best way to think about it is like a contract. It's the agreement that spells out exactly what work has to be done to deliver a final product with all the promised features and functions. It's the what of your project. Simple as that. But here's the part that so many people miss, and it's absolutely crucial. Good scope management isn't just about making sure you do all the work you're supposed to. It's also about making sure you do only the work you're supposed to do. That little distinction, that is your secret weapon against total project chaos. You know, there's an enemy that lurks in the shadows of every single project. It quietly adds a task here, pushes a deadline there, and just drains the budget bit by bit. So what is this silent project killer? Everybody, meet scope creep. This is that little voice in a meeting that says, hey, while we're at it, could we just add this one little feature? Or, you know what would be cool? Let's just tweak this part a little bit. Each request seems harmless on its own, but they stack up, and before you know it, your nice streamlined project is a bloated, expensive mess. But here's the good news. Scope creep might be sneaky, but it is not invincible. There's actually a structured, proven way to fight back, to draw your lines in the sand, protect your plan, and actually deliver what you promised from the start. So, how do we do it? How do we fight back? Well, we use a simple but really powerful 4-step framework. You can think of this as your battle plan for getting projects done right. Here's the roadmap. First, we have to deeply understand the problem. Then we identify the best possible solution. After that, we develop that solution into a rock-solid plan. And finally, we formally launch the project. Let's break down what each of these really means. Okay, step 1, and honestly, everything starts right here. You can't possibly build the right solution if you don't truly understand the problem you're trying to solve. This step is all about asking the right questions before you even start thinking about the answers. This is where you have to put on your detective hat. Don't just take the initial request at face value. You've got to dig deeper. Ask things like, what is the real need here? Who is this actually going to affect? And this is a big one. What happens if we do nothing at all? Answering these questions up front is what sets the boundaries for the entire project. All right, once you've set those boundaries, you can move on to step 2, picking the optimum path forward. And notice I said optimum, not just any path. This is all about making a smart, strategic decision. So how do you choose? Well, you can look at it from a couple of different angles. On one side, you've got the hard numbers, the financial criteria. On the other side, you have the non-financial stuff, which is more about strategy. And, sometimes you'll run into something called a sacred cow project. That's a project that a key executive, maybe the CEO, is really passionate about, and it just gets pushed through no matter what the numbers say. Now, when we talk about financials, one of the most powerful tools is called net present value, or NPV. The big idea here is that $1 today is worth more than $1 a year from now. So unlike simpler methods that just tell you how fast you'll get your money back, NPV actually calculates all of your future profits and costs in today's money. It boils everything down to one single question. Is this project actually going to make us money? Okay, so you've understood the problem, you've picked the best project to tackle it. Now we're at step 3, developing the plan. And a huge piece of this puzzle often comes down to one critical decision. The classic make or buy dilemma. Do you have the skills, the time, and the people to build this thing yourself? Or would it actually be cheaper, faster, maybe even better to just buy it from someone else?
A really smart analysis looks at this from 3 different perspectives. First, you've got the straight-up cost comparison. That's the easy part. Then, you have to weigh those critical factors that are harder to put a number on, like quality and reliability. And finally, you have to apply any filters or constraints. Are there legal issues or confidentiality concerns that basically make the decision for you?
Let's look at a real example here to see how this works. Check out the numbers. If the project only lasts 38 months, the buy option is clearly cheaper. But look what happens when we find the break-even point. At 40 months exactly, the costs are identical. Push that timeline just 2 more months to 42, and all of a sudden, making it in-house becomes the cheaper option in the long run. This is exactly why running the numbers is so important.
And that brings us to our final phase, launching the project and, just as importantly, putting up all the defenses you need to protect the careful planning you've just done.
And here it is, step 4, the formal launch. Now, this isn't just about a party or cutting a ribbon. Getting that official approval and securing the funding, that protects your project. And that kickoff meeting, it makes sure every single person, from your team to the stakeholders, is on the exact same page about the scope you've so carefully defined. It becomes the official playbook everyone has to follow. And this is why it all matters. Because remember our old enemy, scope creep? It's always waiting in the wings. It directly attacks the foundation of your plan, your costs, and your schedule by adding things, little by little, until the plan you all agreed on is just a distant memory. This image just nails it, doesn't it? Think of your project like a balanced seesaw. On one side, you have your fixed cost and your timeline. Every new feature, every little tweak is another weight you're dropping on the other side. Sooner or later, that balance is going to tip, and your project is going to spiral completely out of control. So there you have it, a 4-step framework to take you from a vague idea to a well-defined, well-protected project. This process is how you stop that simple tree swing from ever turning into a roller coaster. The only question left is, how are you going to use it to protect your next project?